Am I going? Yep. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dana Hewankorn, and I am here doing Grassroots Family and Community Engagement for the CSKT's PIR Day. Welcome all you teachers, and thank you very much for spending your next 50 minutes with me. I'm very new at this, as most of you were last year, so I have total and utmost respect for all of you educators who helped me stay home with my children this last spring and partially this year. So, next slide. Bear with me. Oh, there I am. I'm a tribal member of the Cooney tribes, and I have 9 children. I have 24 grandchildren, and I am very involved in my community. I live in Elmo, and it's a very small community if you're not familiar with where I'm from. In These are the 3 points I'm going to try to do in the next several projects that I'm going to talk about that I've done as volunteer, and sometimes it's intermeshed with different jobs I've done. It seems to follow me wherever I go and whatever department I do. On the weekends, whatever I do, I end up doing this kind of work. So it's really important when you're thinking about doing community work you want to develop your partnerships with families and community and collaborate, and you're making friends and trading and bartering and doing all the things you do to make your program successful. You also take a look at your group and find out what its particular needs are. Each group is different. I've worked with, in my own community, I've worked with people at different levels that are ready to do different things. And I've had some that are very, very beginning and very afraid to do anything or try something new. So I just kind of gauge what's going on with each individual, and we work together to make it happen. And then what I learned through all the work I've done in the community is things change. We go in different directions. We might go in with one idea, and at the end, you'll see, especially through one of the projects I take you through, you'll see how it morphed and changed and developed into something new, and it continues to do that. So, I'll tell you a little bit about me. In 2011, I lost a daughter to suicide, and it crushed my world, and it made it very, very hard. And I didn't really know how to go forward and do what I needed to do, so I kind of sat still for a while. In 2013, after we sustained more loss and more traumatic events, I decided I had to do something to help not only myself but my community. So I went forward and decided to start a beading circle. I asked around, and I got a building. Tribal Health agreed to let me use their building, and I started showing up. I would put it on social media that we were having a beading circle. I would invite people. I would go over and pick them up. I would cook food for them. All those things I would do to make it happen. And all this was just on my volunteer time, my food, my supplies. So I did that, and I did it regularly. And there's a lot of times I sat in that room by myself. And I had a little Facebook group that was in there. A lot of people were in it, so they knew I was there, and they kept, I'll be down pretty soon, or maybe next week I'll come. And eventually, I started having people coming, and I started hitting. Sorry, something popped up. It started becoming a regular thing, so people started showing up, and it wasn't a waste of my time. We started developing a really cohesive group, and it was beautiful to watch. We started doing really great things together. So that after it became pretty regular, it was fun to watch. One particular person, I really wanted her to come, And she just kept watching. And then finally she started showing up and she became one of my regular people. It was really cool. Um, so that's that slide. One of the things that I used to make it happen was I would feed people. I would bring potluck. We would bring really good food. Uh, Sometimes I would get donations. Sometimes it would just be my own family's leftovers. Whatever it was that we brought to bring people in together, we would have food along with our beading and sewing and whatever projects we're working on. A lot of times it was my instruction. I had beginning beaders or someone who'd never beaded before or someone who might want to learn how to make baby bags or quilts or other artistic things. Some people just showed up and all they did was visit with us, and that was what it was about. People don't visit like they used to anymore. We spend so much time on our phones and so much time on behind the screens, and that's how we think we socialize. And I really wanted to make that person to person connection. So we did every week. Every week I would show up, and if I didn't show up, I would get someone else to show up. Things got chaotic. I'm a busy person, so sometimes I couldn't be there, and I had another good friend. She'd go show up for us, and it was really cool. Something that helped with engaging families is pretty soon everybody was bringing food, and they were doing their part to participate. So everybody comes to this at different levels, and maybe they didn't have an income or they're on a fixed income, and maybe all they brought to that dinner might have only been an onion. I'll bring an onion, and then they would bring their onion, and we'd add it to our soup. And these were scheduled to go for 2 hours. And there was many times we would go until wee hours of the night. One time I was there till 5 in the morning finishing a project. And another lady stayed with me. Someone asked me to do a purse for a cancer fundraiser, and I had to have it the next day, and I stayed, and it was probably February in the middle of brutal winter, and we had about 3 of them stayed till midnight with me, and then somebody else was hardcore and stayed till I was done, and then I drove it into Polson. So we started to do community service work for other people. We helped with raffles in the community, or we might cook a dinner for somebody if somebody needed it. We really started to do stuff with each other and for each other, and helping each other, and it was a good thing to do in my community. I should back up and explain to anybody who doesn't know, Elmo is very isolated. We are 17 miles from the nearest store. We have no gas station. We have no services. We have a pop machine and we have a post office. That's it. Some people have internet, some people don't. Some people have satellite, some people don't. So if you think about the isolation that can happen in a situation like that, it's pretty real. So creating this social time was really important, and it wasn't just women that came. We had some regular men that came and did their arts and crafts or activities, different things. Kids would come, and usually there would be somebody that would kind of tend to the kids, or we would all tend to them and have them in their section because their room was big enough to do that. Again, this is all on our own for a while, and as we developed our programming and became a regular in the community, it started to change, and the change was really good. I was really fortunate to come along, and different grants found out about me, or different, I don't want to say about me, different programming found out about what we were doing in Elmo. And one of the SAMHSA grants that came through said, hey, we can support this. It was an earlier suicide prevention SAMHSA grant that came through the Tribal Education Department, probably in 90 or 2016 or 15. So we'd already been going for a couple years because we started in 2013. So I was able to drive over to Shipwreck, which is in Washington, below Olympia, and buy all these supplies for the beading circle. And that's a big receipt, and that's a lot of supplies. And this was a really just, I couldn't believe it. It was like a kid in a candy store. All these things I can get from the community to use. And it wasn't the hand me downs, it wasn't the mismatched stuff. This was top of the line materials that we were able to purchase. And I'm pretty frugal and very I'll get the deal. So not only did I get the deals that were offered, I was able to uh, get them to offer me some more deals by telling them what I was doing and why I was doing it. So that's what we had. So we got this little shelf there, or cabinet. That cabinet is completely full of our supplies. And even though it's housed at Tribal Health, it actually belongs to the Beading Circle. It's not labeled by the tribes. It's all of ours. In there, there's some sewing machines that various people have donated, and I have some other supplies in other places. I've received other donations for our group specifically. A serger, I think we have two sergers, um, other things. So I have this stuff completely housed differently than where I work at now's stuff is, because I really work hard to keep them separate. So this was a huge um, a, a huge time that we came together, and it was like I don't know, it was such a good feeling to have this happen for us. Another thing that started happening in our community, we have different things that happen when people pass away. We do something called a giveaway. So part of those giveaways, we were being included in those giveaways by, if someone was a beater or an artist or a sewer or had materials, they would usually gather stuff and they might put it on the giveaway as Elmo Beading Circle. So it's becoming a normal thing in our community, and they know that we're there for as a part of the community to do healthy things. And that was a good thing to do. That was uh, a big thing for us. Um, Next, sorry, it wasn't just beading. We started again. This was supported by the SAMHSA program. We talked about making herbal medicines, and we were able to use some of those SAMHSA funds that were set aside for us to bring somebody in to teach us to do these herbal medicines. So we took a whole day of making these, and it was a completely whole day. We made lots of different salves and lots of different. I think we did 4 medicines that day, and we had a great big binder full of other uses for these different herbs. And it was really a good thing to do. It was interesting. We had to like stir, and it was fun. I've never participated in anything like that, and that was something for me was really new. So we brought, I think, medicine for diabetics. I think we brought something for depression, something for your hair. We're going way back, and something else. So the room was full. It was completely full. It wasn't just community members from Elmo. The ladies that came in, one of them came in, I think she was from Cusick, and then somebody else came in from Pablo from the Salish tribe. So it was real a blending of people and cultures and different elders that came in. And this particular class brought in other community members that wouldn't have normally came. They heard about what we were bringing, and they came to learn about the herb making. So that was another awesome event that we did connected to the Elmo Beading Circle. We called it the Beading Circle. It was way, way more than beading. Collaboration along the road here. Prior to me working for Tribal Health, we started partnering with Tribal Health as a grassroots community group, and they would help us get us supplies to participate in the Go Red for Women event that happens annually for Tribal Health. And actually, I think it's a national event. So we had lots of red materials given to us, and various people would do different things. This here's my granddaughter. She made pillows. At this point, she's probably, I think she was 9 when she got behind the sewing machine, and she loves it. And it really, her and a couple other kids her age would come and sew, because we had we have a lot of sewing. I have a lot of sewing machines, and then we have the ones that are given to us. So we all participated in that, and then we would go up to the as a group. The ones who participated, we would go to Mission and do the annual. What's it called? Oh, oh, the fashion show. Yeah, we would do the fashion show. I won a bunch. It was really cool because I'm really super competitive. So I had to enter in every category they let me enter in. Um, and we would stay up together to get these together. We had quilts, we had bags, we had purses, we had um, pillows. We had. I wish I would have put it in there. My daughter made a bunch of aprons for some of my grandkids. Um, we had jewelry making. We had just so much so many entries and so much interest. So we would kind of take that time and kind of work on those projects. But those projects were also learning about heart health. So we would kind of take what's going on around in the bigger community and bring that in to learn about health and wellness, because what these projects are about the health and wellness of the community on different levels. It's not just about socializing. It's not just about being around friends and giggling and being silly. It's being healthy. It's creating positive connections with each other. It's learning how to be, make new choices and healthy choices. I tried really hard with the food aspect to most of the time have good choices in food. So maybe people are trying something they wouldn't normally have tried. We did have fry bread though. It wasn't all about what could happen. We did community service events. At the culmination of the SAMHSA grant, we decided to go on a whitewater rafting trip. And I didn't want it just to be a gimme. I really wanted to pull people in and say, let's do something for the community. So we all went out and cleaned the Elmo Powell grounds. We actually cleaned quite a bit. We've had bags and bags and bags of garbage that was just laying around. Just what happens. So we went and uh, I, I think we did a lunch, and then we just cleaned up the area. And then those that were old enough, because you see the little guy, he's now in second grade. There in the by the bag. Um, so we cleaned the community, and then when we were done, we went and went whitewater rafting. It was really fun, and some of those kids have never done anything like that. So it was really cool. Um, I'm kind of very biased actually, and I love this quote. So this is kind of the end of the Elmo Beading Circle presentation. Now I want to remind you that all that was grassroots and all volunteer. It wasn't a program that did it. It was just an idea that came to fruition, and we did that, and we did it really successfully for a number of years. I've been really busy personally, and I haven't done it lately, but we will. We'll go back to that, and it's I think happening sooner than later. So that's what I have on the Elmo Beading Circle. If anybody has any questions on how to start this, feel free to contact me. My email is at the beginning of the PowerPoint, ymdana@gmail.com, and I'll give you my 2 cents on how to start it. The biggest thing is you show up and you're consistent. You show up if you say you're going to run it for a month, every Tuesday at 5 o'clock with dinner being there, you're there every Tuesday, 5 o'clock, and dinner's there, even if nobody shows up. And you do it every week until they start showing up. It really will make a difference. They'll come. So the next movement I went on, and I'll tell you what started this one. So 2 years ago, no, last year, a year ago, my mom was sick and she was in hospice. And this is in the spring. And I started helping take care of her. So I, still working and doing what I needed to do. And I don't waste. And my mom taught me not to waste. And somebody showed up at my work with 7 plants. And I can't kill them because that would be waste. So I decided I was going to be a gardener. And I started planting these plants at work. I never do anything halfway, ever, ever. So I planted the 7 plants at work, bought more soil, had extra soil, so I had to bring it home to start a garden at home. So I had 2 planters at work full of plants. Then I went home and I had 4 raised beds at home and made a garden at home. That was my garden last year. I took care of that while I was taking care of my mom, and it was really grounding for me to do that, to help do those 2 things together, because it was really painful to watch my mom be in that much pain, and I knew my time was short with her. So I started the gardens, and it was my own little garden. I'm really um, public about almost everything I do. So I really got into posting everything I did on Facebook. So people knew about my garden. And I ended up doing another little project with somebody else where I was helping some kids with gardening. So I'm like going, how does this 50-year-old woman start gardening? Because I have nails. I don't get dirty. What's up with this? So I started gardening, and there was an interest that happened. I completed my own garden, cared for my mom. My mom died in September a year ago, and I gathered what I needed to do and took care of her, and we had our garden. And I didn't harvest much because at the time the harvest came, I was deep into caring for my mom. So the garden looked beautiful, and the beans went bad, and we missed the potato. We missed a lot of stuff, but it kept me grounded and kept me sane. This year, already last year, I knew what I was going to do. I was going to add on to my garden. I was going to garden more personally. So this is still at a personal level. So Corona came. We're all stuck at home. I was stuck at home with 4 children. I love you, teachers. I really love you, because being home with 4 children was painful. I love them, but they need to be at school, and Corona needs to go. Anyways, I planned on the garden. So I started doing my garden. We got our stimulus monies. I started giving my husband lots of honeydew lists, and my 4 beds at home grew to 11 beds. I have 11 beds at home, and I'm adding some more this year. So the kids all got involved because we're home, and I'm doing really good at keeping my kids busy and structured, and trying to make this weird time that we're all stuck in less traumatic. So we started growing things. We started doing really amazing things as a family. Well, as this is happening, I get a program that contacts me and says, Dana, we want to do these 10 garden beds in the community. Now, mind you, at my job, I had an after school program that we couldn't work with them, and I just missed those kids, and I missed the community. And how do I keep connected with my community when we can't? We can't have that physical connection. We have to all be in our own little pods. So I said, yeah, I can make that happen. So I got 10 beds, and that program is, I have to remember, there's a list at the end, but it was SKC's Food to School Garden Network Homegrown Project. So we Tech for Good and SKC Braids. So that was one thing I partnered with. So we brought that in, and I got those 10 gardens into families' homes, and other families started coming forward saying they were gardening. So not all, so I would support that group, and then I would also support these other different ones, even if I just gave them a bucket and I gave them some tomatoes. We started really doing that. I know I have 10 gardens and another 6 that we've talked about each other with it. Nothing real formal, nothing real garden clubbish, or but we like they'll call, what do I do with this tomato? It's like, oh, I don't know, I'll Google it, because I don't know anything. Uh, so we did that, and we continued to move forward with that. So this, of course, I tried to only post pictures that people wouldn't mind. So these are my grandkids, and I told their parents I was posting. I didn't tell them, but they're not going to do anything. But even my little one right there with the bucket, she loved it. She had so much fun in the dirt. It was fun. And we all did it. How I got a lot of the things I got were given to me. My husband and my grandson we were given some beds. So we went and dug them out and loaded them up and brought them here. My grandson really took to liking this one here. He's taking care of a orb weaver. And he really took care of that. He would catch all kinds of little things and bring it to him and feed him. And then the other grandson got mad one day and made him homeless. So I don't know what happened to the orb weaver, but we tried really hard. But this was happening not only at my house, but in all those other homes too. And we just giggle about things or share our stories with each other. And we did it all through social media. I have a couple little social media groups that we connect with and we ask questions for. We help each other find out what the answers are. Um, so we were able to stay connected even though we couldn't be with each other. So we did that through our gardens. And we had some really successful gardens. And we had some that weren't so successful, but that's the way it is, right? Oh, we had time wise. Oh, am I going to go 25 more minutes? I'm trying. Next one. So here's a difference, the progression of the gardens. The first garden there was my little tiny garden in 2019. It was very small, couple beds. It took us a little time. And then this other one with the house in the back is taking on the other side. So you can see how much it's grown. I went to like I said, 11 beds, 36 tomato plants, 2 trellises, a teepee. I had a lot of failures and I had a lot of successes. Nothing I wanted to trellis or climb my teepee work, except for maybe 2 squash plants. Next year is going to be a success. So these families that we worked with, they also kind of took photographs of their stuff to share. They would share their successes and their challenges. There's something truly healing about being in the dirt. The one time that really, one of the times, there's so many. My granddaughter was helping me plant some stuff, and we're in the dirt and we're in the soil, and she stopped and she said, "Didi, this dirt smells so good." And then there was something connected to that. So getting in there and caring for your plants and having a purpose. Every day we have to water. Every day we have to go water, and then we have to go and get the weeds out. I have a little vole that has moved in, so I'm trying to figure that one out. All these things you're problem solving to keep your garden going is what we did together as a family. I don't know how many people have helped in my garden. I had my next door neighbor, he's my cousin, he helped. All of my grandkids have helped from time to time. Son-in-laws, my son, my husband, all of us have come in from time to time and took care of things. I was in the middle of a big project. It got cold. It was so cute. My husband went out and he's not a gardener. He went out and tucked in my garden, and my grandson had his glasses on and lost them that day. But they make sure my garden was all nice and warm and all my tomatoes made it. That is something we all did together, and I know that I'm not the only one who did that. I know that the community groups that we were working with also did that. They took the time and the effort to get that, to care for their plants. I watch the kids. I see the joy in their face when they post their pictures holding their zucchini or their tomatoes or the potatoes, whatever it was. That was something that was magnificent and beautiful. Um, the other day we unearthed some of our potatoes, and my guys are little. So I have a second grader, third grader, and a fourth grader, and so we're unearthing the potatoes. And the one thing I tried to get it in here, I'm not technical enough to put a video in this, so I'll just describe it. My grandson was really excited. I've never seen roots before. I mean, we had potatoes that were like, no kidding, this big, and we're going to have baked potatoes for dinner. We'd starve if we were going to have to rely on the potatoes that we grew, but we still grew them, and we still ate them, and we've made lots of foods, lots of dinners and meals out of our foods that we had, and it was such a good thing. Through both this project and the Beading Circle, I've always made a point to build partnerships and collaborate with whoever we collaborate with. So I also collaborated with and brought in bees. We have we're beekeeping out there in Elmo. And again, this is connected to a program I actually work for, but it's all kind of how it's interconnected and woven together. even though there was no written out plan that says this is what Elmo's going to do. Pretty soon it's like we're gardening. Oh, Dana's gardening. I think, we can hook up with her and we can bring the bees out there. And that would be really good. I need to turn my ringer off because it's making me crazy. Okay. So we have our bees and they've been out there since April-ish. We lost one hive. And then I guess when you release them, the queen goes away and they all follow her. So they don't like die. They just go live in the wild. So we've replaced that one and it's been pretty successful. Through COVID, the bees take care of themselves. So we're able to continue with that and they'll make them through the winter and we'll have a good start. And I think it was really exciting to know that there were so many gardens in the area to make sure that the bees were okay and getting the pollen they needed. And then it was nice for us to know that there would be bees in the area to pollinate. Kids learned about pollination and um, my kids are really excited when they see a bee. They'll say, I don't like bees. Well, I don't not like bees. I don't like to get stung. So they've kind of learned the importance and value of having bees for our foods and everything else connected. So that's just one of the partnerships through gardening that I've had, and I've had SKC. There's been several partnerships I've had through COVID, and this time we've had together. More gardens. Here's some photos of some of the community gardens. So each family was given a 4x4 block for their garden. The one there in the orange, she lives in a kind of a shared yard area, housing area. So they have a lot of dogs. She was so serious. She went out and got this fence and she built a fence around it. And I have checked on it over the summer and it has grown and grown and grown. And it's kind of reminds me of like this exploding like a muffin because like everything's coming out of it. I told her you should let them squash out now. But it's grown and she loves it and she's really excited for it. And it's something her and her kids did together. And she calls me all the time and we find out how to make something for something. And this is really good. So it was fun to watch the families do this together. And they absolutely did it together. The failures were hard. It's like when you lose your whole plant because you transplanted it wrong or um, something happens you don't understand, you don't know because none of us are master gardeners. I guess I they come to me, but I'm a brand new gardener. I really am. I mean, I have a big garden, but that's because I'm crazy and I never do anything small. But it was fun and to know that all those kids and parents got to do this together and they got to make these things. Another story that a kid had, I told they weren't sure they were going to do this, and I said, start with radishes. So I helped her get her radish boxes together, and she did her radishes. And I remember her posting, "I'm so glad Dana did this because he gets almost that instant gratification that something's growing." Because when you haven't gardened and you plant something and you go out there every day and you look at it, you think you failed every day. It's like, oh, nothing's going to grow, nothing's going to grow. And then we had the cold at the beginning. It was a slow start. So it was nice to get instant gratification for the kids and families. Not all 10 of those were successful, but we had a lot of success. And that's even failing is a part of the learning process. You kind of have to water daily. Oh, what's next? Um, so also a part of caring for my mom, I started canning last year. And there wasn't a lot I can do at her house. Being in her room with lights on, it didn't work. So I would go in the kitchen and I would can. So I taught myself how to make jam last year. As a family, we've always canned deer meat and we've always done pickles. So I started canning last year and I just did it for my family and I gave away canned foods for Christmas. And this year I decided I took a canning class and I'm taking another canning class and I'm really getting into the food security side of um, where we are. COVID has really made me really aware of the food shortages, the not, knowing if our food is safe. And where I live, we're a long ways away from the grocery store. So even if the food is there at the grocery store, we still have to get to the grocery store. So we have a lot of barriers in the way for us. So I have decided that the progression and where we're going from here is, and as soon as we're allowed to be together in a more meaningful group like manner, I'm going to do a canning and food preservation movement out in Elmo. So people know this, and I get tagged in every jar post in Facebook. I get canners brought to my house and given to me. Um, I get donations of fruit and food and all that you can think of to can, and it'll be put to use. Don't think it's going to be wasted, and I'm not hoarding it. It's not just for me. So I got post. Someone tagged me in a post. That center photo there is a. Uh, my whole rig is full of canning equipment and jars, and the only thing is I had to take everything. I couldn't pick through it. So I drive to past Big Fork and I pick up this load of stuff, and I end up with two pressure cook canners, a pressure cooker, and two water bath canners. Mind you, I own two pressure canners already. Um, and then a bunch of jars and lids and cookbooks and recipes and even some canned foods that I dumped because I don't know how old they were. But I got all this stuff. I mean, my car is loaded. I have kids in the car, and I think we ended up keeping two seats for them to ride home with me so they can have seatbelts. Brought that stuff home and unloaded it. And I really thought long and hard, what am I going to do with this stuff? I mean, I don't need to have this many canners. Who has this many canners? So I kind of talked to some people and I thought about it overnight. And what I decided, and that's what happened, the decision I made is I'm going to develop a canning club. And it could be I might move from community to community and have days where we do a canning session up in Arlee or Dixon or Mission or wherever we can do that. I'll bring the canners and I'll bring the information, and we'll process that food together. And when we're done, we'll have a safe food that's able to take home and shared, whether it's uh, just jam or jelly, or if it's someone brings an elk in and we're going to can all that meat. Whatever it is, that's what I want to do in the future, and it'll still be connected to whether it be the beading circle or other projects I've done. I hope you can see how they're really connected to each other because it's all about being together and doing things together, building relationships, learning to talk to each other. Just the things that were always there before that we've lost over time because we're so hooked up into our phones that we think that's how we're communicating, that those emojis that come at the bottom of something, well, someone's going to understand that I'm laughing and it's funny or not that I'm teasing. We have to get back to human contact and learning how to get along with each other. There's something that happens when you get a room full of people together working with their hands. The stories come out, you work through your grief, you celebrate your happiness and your joys, but you also work through your hard parts and your sadness. And in the end, you get to bring home food and share it with your family. You get to finish this beautiful beaded item and give it to somebody or wear it and be proud of it. You get to see the joy of watching a young person know how to bead or know how to sew or know how to create some food for their family. I'm amazed at how many people don't know how to cook these days. Adults, grown adults who don't know how to cook, grown adults who don't know how to thread a needle because we've lost that. And I'm not saying that that's a school issue. That's a societal issue, and we need to get back to some of those basics. And I think COVID has forced the hand on that because we had to spend so much time at home. So that's kind of where my next direction is going. I have a lot of hopes and dreams for that. I'm looking at collaborations. I am hoping to bring in other interested people to participate in that. Other things our group does, I still have 10 minutes. Other things we'll do continually is we'll participate in other activities in the outlying areas, whether it's walking the res or getting them involved in hiking or kidney keepers program within the tribes where it's all about heart health and diabetes prevention. Working together with getting our kids okay in school. We all were on this learning curve, including you, I'm sure, on how to educate our children last year. So we were all at home going, I don't know what to do. So we learned to talk and get through that. So if we can build these relationships with each other, that is really important. I don't know what else to say.
What if somebody wants to start something like this? Who should they look for in the community? How should they go about this?
I think that most come in. I didn't come up. This was an accident that it even happened. So that's a good question. Thank you, Amy. I think if we could look at ways to support people trying to get these things started in their communities, if it means lending them your classroom, lend them your classroom, be there for the day and have these little reading circles or whatever the group wants to do so you can kind of build that support system within your program. Because I didn't do this alone. I reached out and started looking for partners. Who can I make this happen? So this can happen in any community, anything, just find out who's interested, become a part. If you can't find that person, try to be that person and bring in people to get going and moving. Showing up, showing up and being consistent. I don't think you have to be as crazy as I am about doing things. It's helped me grieve and helped me heal, and it's just what I do. So, um, my mom would just say, "Just slow down." It's like, ain't gonna happen. um, so be that, support those people and be creative and thoughtful about how you do it. Don't bring in something that doesn't make sense if it's like they're not going to be interested in, you know, something that's way out there. But food we all eat, different things like that. Even if it's bread making, you have someone a master bread maker and show people how to go and make bread. I mean, it's a day of making bread. You can make yeast bread. Lots happens and works when you're working with that bread. And it doesn't have to be regular. What if it's only on a Wednesday once a month? The first Wednesday of the month, we're going to meet. Start small. You don't have to start big. None of this was a planned regular event, and it just turned into it. It just kind of morphed and developed and changed. So through this, we have so many of our young people can now beat or sew. What that does is always allows them the ability to come up with some quick cash. Like, oh, my baby needs diapers. A couple pairs of earrings. You get done in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you can go buy your diapers. Or the kids want to go to McDonald's or whatever. You need to make a big payment. You can knock some stuff out and pay your bills. So that brings that security into the family. You never have to be broke because you have skills that are right here in your hands. You never have to be hungry because I can grow my food, and I can go out to the garden. And my husband today, is there tomatoes? Yeah, there's tomatoes. And he made tacos for dinner. He didn't have to worry about going 17 miles one way to town to get a tomato. On the food preservation side of it, as I get better, because I'm very new at that, we'll be able to go to the pantry and pull what we need and have it on hand, or we can share with our neighbors in the future and do that together. We'll be able to just keep developing these skills and creating that that positive, healthy social interaction that we haven't had. We don't do it.
And then don't think it'll hear it but if a teacher is wanting to come out and learn about the beading circle or join that, what could they do? Like repeat
Okay. So Amy asked if a teacher was interested in coming learning about these things, or participating. Again, you can contact me. We haven't been doing the beading circle. I went back to school last couple years ago, and it kind of uh, has slowed down a bit, but it will rejuvenate. And everything's kind of on hold with COVID. So as soon as we are given the free and clear where it's a healthy enough time to be able to spend with each other, I will certainly be inviting people to come. And I really do want to do this traveling canning session stuff. I would love to take my stuff. I'm getting all of my lids and stuff tested at the extension office. That's another partner I had. Um, so that way they'll be safe. And I'm really going to learn how to use all the equipment that I have now to bring to your community. So I would love to come and have a canning class here in Polson or whatever community you're in. Um, Even if it's something as simple as we're just going to do jam, and do that together. And the kids can be around, because I don't think it's something you have to do together. I'm very fortunate. My kids will eat anything I cook, um, asparagus, zucchini, anything. So it's because they've been around it their whole life. So if we can get more people doing that and less people eating French fries, we won't have some of the health concerns we have. So that's what I have on that. I have about 4 minutes left. I'm almost there. Partner screen. So I had a lot of partners, and these partners, now some of them I've worked for in the past, and some of them I have not. I partnered with Trouble Health when I did not work for Trouble Health. I partnered with the Trouble Education Department when I worked for Trouble Education, and that was the SAMHSA grant. I was really fortunate to get that one as a grassroots program. Polson School District has partnered with us in the years past, as well as the Polson Indian Education Committee. I know I'm gonna miss them. The SKC Extension Office in both the gardening project and the canning project. Flathead Reservation Extension Office has been phenomenal to partner with the bees and the various programmatic things that aren't grassroots. I'm trying to make sure I keep this at grassroots, what I do in the community, but it all intermingles. Another partnership I created and got involved with was on the grassroots level is with Essential Eats distributors. And it's basically a one woman show who purchases food and gets it to the community. So through her, I brought elk, potatoes, and carrots and onions. Like 40 families got food from her. We've done it with chicken and we've done it with turkeys. So that's another partnership that I was able to bring back to the community. And it's funny, I load up my rig with my frozen goods, and I'm door to door. And they don't even know I'm coming with turkeys. And I'm knocking on doors. You want a turkey? So I bring food to people, and please get in the freezer or cook it right now. So that's a partnership I did. That NEFA, SKC, Tech for Good School Garden Network Homegrown Project. That was the garden boxes. That's continuing. I believe they're having a session for PIR Day as well. I was just a partner and working with those 10 particular families that actually grew into probably 16 after that through my own contributions. Social media. I could not have done anything I'm doing without social media because I have a little group. I created a little group. I'll just leave it at that because it's our little group. But I can post in there, and then we're having a dinner, or somebody needs this or whatever that from my community, and we make it happen. Someone needs this or that, or we're having a birthday party or whatever it is. We use social media, and it hits a lot of people that way. And the Kootenai community has been phenomenal. They are very open to what we're doing. They see the benefits, and we care about each other as a community. And we're really trying to get better because we have buried enough children, and we've lost enough young people, and we really need to get to a better place. That's And I know I missed partners. I absolutely know I missed partners. And if I did, I'm sorry. Because I couldn't have done it without every single one of them. And I have a dedication page. The work I do heals broken hearts. My beading circles for my daughter. And my canning and gardening is for my mom. These two women were significant in my life. And I just want other people to experience what helps me get over my own broken heart. So thank you. How do I turn off? Without my glasses.